So because 2026 looks to be a really stacked year for games, I've decided to focus my attention on the ones that interest me the most. And Judas has always floated around like that top 5 range because it's coming from the original creator of Bioshock. Just to get like a little background on my history with Bioshock, I played Bioshock 2 and Infinite. I absolutely adore Bioshock 2. It just missed out on my top 30 games of all time. It was like 31 or 32. The studio behind Judas is Ghost Story Games, and they're basically like the AA version of Irrational Games, which was the studio behind Bioshock. And also, after Ken Levine left Irrational Games, he brought a lot of people with him over to Ghost Story Games. So basically, in a way, this team is sort of like a spiritual successor to the old Bioshock team. So we can expect Judas to feel very similar in vibe to those Bioshock games. Also, since Ken Levine is both the creative director and lead writer on Judas, that puts him solely in charge of the game's like vibe. I say that because creative director is what I like to call like the vibes role, because obviously there's going to be other writers for the game, but if something doesn't fit Ken Levine's vision or his like design philosophy, he has the power to override any decision and pivot to something else. And in theory, that actually sounds really great, but it also worries me a little bit because Bioshock Infinite for me is a perfect example of a game with a very intriguing story but has very little focus. And that can happen at times when you give someone total control and just basically all free reign to do whatever they want, and no one is there to sort of like keep them in line or like to bounce ideas off of them or to say, no, this won't work, or, you know, this clashes with our gameplay systems. You know, when someone has basically just full autonomy over a game's direction, if they have a clear vision and their goal is focus, then yes, it can lead to some great games. But like, if it's not, like if they want to just basically add everything or just add things to sort of clash with how the game works, then that's where you run into problems. Also, another thing to keep in mind is because Judas is a sci-fi game, it is inevitably going to be compared to other sci-fi games or other upcoming sci-fi games, such as like The Expanse, Osiris Reborn, and Exodus. Those games, I mean, The Expanse has already released its closed beta, and I've been playing it and absolutely loving it. And they've done dev interviews, and they showed a lot of gameplay showcases on what the game is going to be like. Also, for Exodus, they've been doing the same thing, and they're going to have an extended gameplay showcase this summer. So both of those games being sci-fi games, and they're coming out in spring 2027, and both those games are ramping up their marketing cycle, that leaves Judas in a really weird and interesting situation because this game has been relatively quiet on their development. Outside of, again, like a couple of dev interviews or PlayStation blog posts, for the most part, it's been, I guess, radio silent. Now, Ken Levine did explain why they're taking a quieter approach to their marketing. And he explained that marketing a game takes a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time and energy. You know, making trailers or gameplay showcases just takes a lot when he really just wants to focus on finishing the game. And he wants to like branch out from that AAA, really big blockbuster, you know, marketing cycle. And I totally get all that. That's the reason why he left Irrational Games. But still, to some degree, you have to be able to market your games so that people know that your games exist. With that being said, they have released 2, I guess, dev diaries through PlayStation blog posts. And in the first one, I found something really interesting was that Ken Levine explained how the Nemesis system that was in Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, which I've never actually played myself, but he said that gameplay system actually inspired him to use something similar in Judas. And this is where the Villiany feature comes from, where basically your actions and your interactions with these 3 main characters in this game will determine who becomes the main villain of the story. And I think that that's really interesting because, of course, in every game, the main antagonist is always the main antagonist. And there's always an understanding of like who's good and who's evil. My guess is there's going to be like branching quest lines. So like it starts at like the base, and then each decision you make is sort of like Detroit Become Human, where each decision you make branches off into a different direction, and then there's just so many different directions that you can take based off of your decisions. And I'm not gonna lie, that sounds really fun in a sci-fi setting and a game that has a lot of player choice as well. We know the game will have a bunch of player choice, which is something, again, that's also different from Ken Levine's older Bioshock games. Mostly those games, you knew, again, like the main villain, you knew the main conflicts. In this game, it seems, depending on your decisions, that's going to vary and change from playthrough to playthrough. But by far, my favorite bit of news that Ken Levine himself has shared about the game is that it will include all its content day one, no live service or online features, no bundles or DLC or any of that nonsense. It's just going to be a strictly old school story, single player game. And I absolutely love that. And he cites games that have come out recently that has taken this approach. He talked about Baldur's Gate 3 taking this approach, KCD 2, Clair Expedition 33, and how they're bucking all the trends as well of you constantly need live updates and live service features and stuff like that. And just the fact that he mentioned these 3 games alone, Baldur's Gate 3, KCD 2, and Clair Expedition 33, in comparison with his game, Judas, like you don't really see creative game directors usually talking this openly about bucking the gaming trends. Most of them, they follow the gaming trends because that is usually just the safest bet. Ken Levine is not a safe bet guy. Like if you play his games, they're not safe bets. And when you combine that again with the fact that Judas is not a AAA game, it's much more on the lines of a AA game. So it's going to be much more tighter in scope and it's going to be much more focused on what it's trying to do. Like those are all green flags to me. Tight in scope, very trippy and weird kind of game, story-driven narrative games, player choice, branching narratives. Like I want to keep this video appropriate, but like rock hard will be a good current description of what I'm feeling right now. It's also worth mentioning that because Judas is expected to come out this year, it's possible that Judas does shadow drop considering the marketing style and also comments from Take-Two CEO Strauss Zelnick. But in my opinion, this can actually be a really good idea with a game this AA in a gaming year as stacked as 2026. Like don't be surprised if sometime in August they release a trailer or something and then that very same day they release the game as well. I wouldn't be surprised at all if this game releases around sometime in summer. Like that's just, honestly, I'm thinking the game is probably going to release August, September sometime. That's just my guess. But outside of that, again, we really don't have too much information to go off of. And honestly, it kind of makes me more excited. Like I miss when I was excited about games like this because nowadays everything just leaks. Everything is constantly sent to press and media and like you basically know the entire game and everything about it and even leaked gameplay of like endings of games before they even release. Like I like when a game can be sort of locked down and you feel the excitement for it. And although you have to be cautious about that nowadays because there's a lot of games out there that are coming out unfinished and buggy and, you know, that's because they're hiding it. But, you know, for the most part, I do still miss the fact that that magic from a game's reveal or, you know, a game dropping, it's kind of gone nowadays. And so the fact that Judas has been very hush-hush, it gives me a lot of, I'm not gonna lie, it gives me a lot of anticipation for it. You know, I'm excited about certain things. I'm a little bit wary about other things. But for the most part, I'm anticipating it. And I can't wait to see more gameplay or a dev interview or whatever it is. I'm ready to get my hands on this game. But yeah, for anyone who's excited for Judas, let me know what y'all think about it. Because like other games coming out this year, I mean, people are talking about Phantom Blade Zero, 007 First Light, you know, obviously GTA 6, Blood of Dawnwalker. There's just so many games coming out this year that people are excited for. And I feel like Judas has kind of gone under the radar. And honestly, I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of happy. I'm kind of sick and tired of every game I play. And there's just so much information out there that you can't avoid it and just know everything about the game. I kind of like this. I kind of like not knowing every little bit in detail about the game before it releases. You know, let me know what y'all think about it. Let me know if you are excited for the game. But yeah, anyways, that's it for me. I'll see you next time.